Well, we've got our needle done. As you can see, we spent a little more time just forming that, getting the hole reamed out a little more so that we could fit our cordage through there. So what we've done, we've come over to this yucca tree. Now this tree is a second year. When these seed pods come out, this tree is about to die. And what it'll do is it'll have little yucca spring up all over it after that. So I'm just going to go down here at the base, and what I'm going to do is get a couple of roots, a couple of leaves that are at the base, and pull these out. And you can see how they come off the plant. In fact, this is really good. You can see all the fibers in here. You can see all the fibers and how we're going to separate these fibers out in a few minutes to use them. So let's go down where we can work on these, and we'll get these all into fibers so that we can use them. A lot of people take these, and what they do is they start beating on them and hope to break up the fibers. The problem with that is that it's a good chance you can break your fibers or weaken them. So instead what I do is I just take a rock, flat rock, and I'll just rub on here a little bit, break some of that green off. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to use these leaves green. We're not going to worry about drying these for a week. We need a project done, and so we're going to do it. But you can see a lot of that green's coming off. Turn it over on this side, and we'll scrape a bunch off on this side as well. And what we're trying to do is just get most of that green off of there. It won't hurt anything if you have the green in it. We're just going to go ahead and scrape some off. You can see if you're not careful how it starts to tear up your fibers, and you don't want to do that. So we're just going to do it real gentle. You can see the fibers starting to come through on here, and those are going to be the usable fibers that we have. Now once that we get this to where it's kind of broken up a little bit, I'll just rub it over the edge of this stump for a minute. You can see all that green coming right off of there. Turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Again, yucca is real strong, so you don't have to worry about being very gentle on it, but you don't want to do it to where you're going to break it up and tear fibers out. Once I do that, I'm just going to start in the center, and I'm going to start to pull these apart. And you can see this is about the size fiber that I want to use. This is actually 2 fibers, but I want to use 2, so we'll just start to pull these apart, and we'll leave them lay here as we get them. Just continue to pull them apart until we have a good strand of fibers that we can use. One of these leaves will make about 6 to 8 foot of cordage, and that's at about 1/8 of an inch cordage, so that's not bad. And we'll just go ahead and split this down, and then we'll be back with you. Here's the strands that we've come up with, and you can see it's a good amount of strands out of just one leaf. We'll be able, as I said, to get about 6 foot of cordage. These are some strands that I did the other day, and I had taken another leaf and broken up. So you can see as they dry, they get a little bit darker, and they don't look as wet. One thing that you can do is once you get these dry, you can just rub them in your hand. Again, we're not going to be drying these out. You can see the little pieces of extra material just coming off of there as I rub it between my hands, and that helps get it to where it's broken down just a little bit more, makes it a little bit softer to use. One of the nice things about yucca, it doesn't really have to be rehydrated to use. If you rehydrate it, it's going to get slippery and kind of yucky. But I'm going to actually do these here that we just started with, and what I'll do is just take a few of them and begin to do our braid. You remember the twist and turn, just a basic wrap. And we'll do this and get about 3 or 4 inches going here. And once we get that done, then we'll just go ahead and tie our knot in there. And I'll show you a quick way to do this instead of doing each strand individually. Let me get a little knot in here. Okay, now what I can do is instead of wrapping each one separately, I can put these on my pants leg, and I can turn them on my pants leg, This one doesn't want to turn too well. There we go. And then begin that wrap. This makes it a little bit quicker to make that cordage, and you can see it's going pretty fast. So that's another way to wrap that and to get a pretty good tight wrap on it. So we're going to get a couple feet of this made up and show you how it looks and how to finish the cordage off. We've got about 8 foot of cordage made now, and as I said, we're going to make about 20 for this, but I'm going to stop them at about 8 foot. That way I don't have to keep pulling and pulling and pulling as we go through our basket. And what I want to do is just come back with my little blade knife, cut off all these tags so they don't get tangled up. I'm not real worried about them. I think they'd be alright. They'd go through the basket, but we'll try and get them cut off a little bit, and once we get those cut off, we'll be back with you. Alright, we've got all of our joints cut off, and it's a pretty nice little piece of cordage. What I'm going to do is take and see if it'll work for us. What we got to do is just thread this, and you got to get all those little fibers twisted there through our awl, pull it through, and there you go. So now we've got a way that we can sew our basket and that we can make it. Let's go on to getting that basket done. Again, so far we've made a bone awl or a bone needle, and that will help us to weave that through the basket. And we've made so far 6 foot, or 8 foot I guess, of cordage, and you can see this is very, very small. This cordage is not anything that's real big. It's still strong, but it just has to hold a basket together. We're not looking to get something that's going to lift us up the side of a mountain. So let's get on to actually making the basket.